Hey guys, welcome to the videos where I talk through my rules, tell you what the rule is, what it means to practically follow that rule in my relationship, and what the consequence is if I don't. So on this video, I want to talk about the expectation that I have to self-report if I violate a rule or if I'm struggling in my attitude or demeanor, and why that is such a big deal. So in our relationship, Coda really does depend on me to communicate when I have violated rules, but especially when I am struggling with my mood, attitude, or demeanor. Mostly because he is not super perceptive. He would even say that. He is not somebody that catches on to my moods very, very well. And so he needs that communication from me. He needs to know when I am struggling with my mood or demeanor or my attitude, because he doesn't always catch on. And by the time he does catch on, I am like really far off the deep end if I don't self-report and I just kind of let that attitude fester inside of me. And it gets to the point where he's realizing, you're feeling off. I've usually been off for a while by that point. So he really does need me to self-report that. Even more so, he needs me to self-report when I have violated rules or when I have failed to meet expectations. There are a number of our rules and really our routines that he won't really know if I'm failing to meet those expectations or if I've broken those rules unless I tell him. We have recorded an entire podcast about the importance of self-reporting, so I don't want to, repeat a lot of the same things. But basically, self-reporting is really important in our relationship because not self-reporting is very detrimental to the growth of our relationship, and it creates a system where Coda can't trust me to be honest. Self-reporting is just an extension of honesty, and honesty is a core pillar in our relationship, and I think it's a core pillar in many domestic discipline relationships because honesty is something that is so key to the success of domestic discipline, because you have to have trust, and in order to have trust you have to know that you're going to be honest with each other. A head of household bases his trust and his taken in hand based on how honest he can trust her to be. Obviously, as a taken in hand, I base my trust on Coda based on his integrity, and part of integrity is him being honest with me. And so there is this like give and take, this expectation on both sides to maintain a high level of honesty. And having self-reporting in our relationship, him expecting me to self-report, is an extension of the expectation of honesty. And so when I fail to self-report, it does undermine the structures of our relationship. It does undermine his ability to help me grow and his ability to give the accountability that I know that I need. He knows that I need. I count on him for that accountability, because if he doesn't give me the accountability, if he's not stepping in and holding these standards, then it does affect my thought processes. It does affect my attitude towards our whole relationship. And so he knows that he has to give that consistent accountability because it's what's best for me, because it's what's best for our relationship. And so he needs me to tell him when I've done something so that he can fulfill his side of the relationship with giving the accountability. And so for all of those reasons, self-reporting is a pretty big deal. Now, a failure to self-report is an extended correction by itself. So that does not include the consequence for whatever I did not self-report. And so if I failed to self-report something that would be a punishment, I would receive an extended correction for the failure to self-report, as well as the punishment for what I had done that needed to be reported. And so he would just kind of stack those on top of each other. We have not had to kind of consider what this would look like. He has not had to figure that out, because I really don't like the feeling of something in between us. I really don't like the feeling of that guilt that eats away at me when I know that I've done something and I haven't told him. And so I typically self-report very, very quickly. And so for that reason, we haven't really had to figure out what it looks like if I earn the extended correction for a failure to self-report, as well as like something like a punishment or even a second extended correction for the rule violation. We haven't had to figure that out, but in our discussions, it has been discussed that he would just stack those two consequences together, that I would receive both. And that makes sense because it would be two violations at that point. And so it wouldn't make sense to roll that into one spanking. It would be a separate spanking for each violation in this regard, because a failure to self-report would be its own infraction, and then whatever the issue that I failed to report would be its own infraction. So there would be two different consequences for that. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it gave you something to think about. Look forward to that podcast on self-reporting, where we kind of go deeper into the topic and why it's such a big deal for us. And we will talk to you next time.